the FDA has been working over the past several years to try to find ways to advance the development of complex therapies like cell-based gene therapies and gene therapies by using a variety of tools. Some of them are tools that were given to us by Congress, such as our expedited programs, which are very much analogous to things like PRIME in Europe. And some of those are by taking an approach with end-to-end development with involvement of very early meetings with companies. So one of the things we've done here is with cell and gene therapy companies, increasingly we start very early on with a willingness to have discussions about products that might be developed. So we have certain types of meetings here. One is called an Interact meeting, which is a very early meeting that is, we call it a no-risk regulatory meeting because it's a meeting in which the sponsor just gives us, a company comes in, gives us a little bit of information about a product that they want to develop and ask some questions. We don't make any kind of formal regulatory notes about it. None of the information that we provide, nothing is binding. In other words, anything we say, the sponsor doesn't have to do. Those are things those meetings have become very popular because it allows people to come in and avoid some of the mistakes that previous people have made as they're developing a product. So the meetings have been very important early on. That's kind of a nice, unique thing here. And we're increasingly encouraging people in Europe when they have these meetings to invite the EMA or their local regulatory authority. We have no problem with having a country's regulatory authority. So if the French regulatory authority wanted to be on the phone, we have no problem with that, nor do we have a problem with EMA on those early meetings. That way they can hear the kind of early regulatory advice that we give. Then once the product is in development, our breakthrough therapy designation, we have various designations that we can give, all of which the goal is to help speed advice to product developers and also to help move things through the development process. So the breakthrough therapy designation allows things to get more meetings, it gets more agency attention. Breakthrough therapy designation also means that the product is eligible for a faster review by the agency, a priority review, which gets reviewed in 6 months rather than the standard 10. And it allows for use of the accelerated approval provisions, which, again, allows one to use intermediate or surrogate endpoints rather than a final clinical endpoint to get a product to market. So all of those tools we're putting to use. In addition to all of those things, we're also trying to work with manufacturers because in this area of advanced therapy medicinal products, what we have identified, and I think our European colleagues generally agree too, when I talk to the folks at EMA on the CAT, the Committee for Advanced Technologies tends to also see that manufacturing of these products is really where a lot of the challenges are, consistently making a product in sufficient quality and quantity to meet commercial demand. So we're spending a lot of time here in the U.S. trying to work with companies that are trying to develop manufacturing processes, and hopefully we'll have kind of global convergence there because we need these processes to be robust. So that's really, to answer your first question, that's really what we're trying to do. It's not everything, but we very much want to work together with manufacturers because these advanced medicinal products, they really have the chance to be transformative, to make a huge difference. If you look at the CAR T-cell therapies that are available now in the U.S. and Europe, very transformative therapies. And if you look at the gene therapies that have been developed, the one, like for instance, the one for beta thalassemia that's now available in Europe and the one for spinal muscular atrophy that's available here in the United States, those are products that really change lives in a very big way.
Thank you very much. So it's great to hear that you're facing all the same challenges in the US, in Europe, and working toward convergence is good. It's a good sign to help innovation going faster to the market. One other aspect that we will talk about in the next panel is about price and reimbursement that FDA is also covering and managing in the US, and the contrary to Europe. So how do you do to try to make these drugs more affordable for the patient?
So that's a wonderful question, because in the Food and Drug Administration in the United States, we don't do anything with price setting. We don't do anything with actual setting the price of the product, but we try to use the levers that we have in order to reduce the prices. And the two levers that we have are, one, to have more competition in the marketplace, and two, to have reduced cost of goods, because for these cell and gene therapies, relative to a traditional pharmaceutical product, a pill, the cost of goods is much, much higher. So we believe that by reducing the cost of manufacturing of vectors, reducing the cost of production, if we can develop better technologies that will help reduce those costs, reducing the cost of goods will ultimately be a good thing. It will help manufacturers bring down the cost of their products. Right now, the cost of a CAR T-cell to make is actually pretty significant. And if that cost were able to go down by 50% or 75%, probably the price of these products would go down as well. But the other lever is that the more products you have in the marketplace, the better things would be for competition in a free market environment. And so we're trying to encourage people to come into the area. And we're not discouraging products that are similar to one another. So obviously people may have heard about biosimilars, but I'm not even talking about biosimilar products. I'm talking about just in the gene therapy area, you could imagine that there could be good competition between two different gene therapies, for instance, for factor VIII deficiency, or two different gene therapies for factor IX deficiency, or some other disorder. In some cases, there are just too few patients to have more than one product, but in some diseases, one could have some competition, and that's another way we're trying to do this. So combination of competition with reducing cost of goods are probably the big thing here. In the United States, we don't like to talk about price controls because we generally think of that as anti-innovation, but I'm not going to say too much more about that. That's not my area of expertise.